Mr. Liang.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, globally, inflation has stayed elevated and the cost of doing business, which includes rental prices, has also increased. The rental index of office spaces in Singapore has increased by an average of about 1.35% per annum in the last 3 years. While rental for office spaces is higher than the pre-pandemic level, it remains below historical peaks in year 2008 and year 2015. In the same period, the vacancy rate for office spaces has remained stable at around 11% to 13%. Between 2023 to 2025, more than 530,000 square meters of office space is expected to be completed. This is about 40% higher compared to the past 3 years combined and can help to cater to the demand and moderate rent increases over time. Rental continues to comprise a modest proportion of overall business costs for most sectors in Singapore. The government will continue to monitor the market. We are committed to ensuring Singapore's competitiveness and attractiveness as a business destination.
Mr. Liang Eng-hwa.
I thank the MOS for the reply. I'd like to further ask the MOS whether she can share the insights as to how the government intend to calibrate the commercial spaces, the supply of the commercial spaces. In particular, can she elaborate on the 530 square meter office space that is in the pipeline? Where will this space be located and what kind of businesses will they cater for? Second question is, she mentioned in the reply that renters form a modest proportion of the business cost for most sectors. I think to some it's still quite significant. Can I ask how would MTI ensure that Singapore remain overall competitive to be able to attract investment to Singapore with rental that is reasonable and affordable to those companies? Thanks.
MOS Low Yen Ling.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to thank the member, Mr. Liang Eng-hwa, for his, I think, 3 supplementary questions, if I hear correctly. There are 2 parts to the first one, and I wish him a speedy recovery after his ankle operation. I want to thank him and I want to assure him that the government keeps a close eye on the cost of doing business and the impact on the economy as well as the impact on Singapore's attractiveness as a business location. And to the first part of his first SQ, to moderate the commercial rental prices, Mr. Liang and the members will know that the government has in the past, for example, implemented various supply-side measures, for example, calibrating sufficient supply to meet longer-term demand through GLS. GLS is the Government Land Sales Program. I'll give you a quick example. For example, just a few months ago in December last year, the government announced a mixed-use site at Jurong Lake District, and that's potentially yielding about 150,000 square meters of commercial space via the confirmed list, and that will be released via the confirmed list in June 2023. Now, in addition, 30-year lease commercial site in Punggol, potentially yielding about 8,400 square meters of office space, as well as a mixed-use site in Woodlands, about 78,000 square meters of commercial space, will also made available on the reserve list via the first half 2023 GLS. I cite all these examples to share and give assurance to him that these sites can be triggered by the developers to cater for additional commercial space demand. So that's one. And of course, I cited the example, another important data to look at is the vacancy rate, and I cited the 11% to 13%. If I hear correctly, the second part of his first question is about whether can I give some breakdown to the 530,000 square meters. So I cited earlier that in the next 3 years, starting from this year, we will see about 530,000 square meters of commercial space being completed. And this represents 40% higher compared to the last 3 years combined. And to cater to companies in different sectors with different locational preference new office spaces will be distributed geographically across the island. I cite a quick example. In the CBD area, for example, this year we will see the completion of the IOI Central Boulevard, and that will yield 139,000 square meters. Then in the city fringe, and that includes a project that is Keppel South Central, that will be completed sometime next year, and that will yield about 57,000 square meters. Then outside the CBD area, Punggol Digital District is expected to have an additional 39,000 square meters 2 years later in year 2025. And other examples, next year we will see completion of Labrador Tower, 75,000 square meters. Next year as well, Paya Lebar Green, 36,000 square meters. 2 years later, 2025, Shaw Towers redevelopment, 44,000 square meters. And 2 years later, Solitaire on Cecil. So I just want to give him reassurance that we are seeing the completion of a combined GFA of 530,000 square meters over the next 3 years. To his second question about Singapore's overall competitiveness, he would have read some of the recent ranking report, including the EIU. Today, our city-states continue to be one of the most competitive economies of the world. And this is attested by the recent EIU ranking. And it indicated that Singapore has retained the position of having the world's best business environment for 15 years. But we should not rest on our laurels. But more importantly, I think the point here is Singapore does not compete on cost alone. Other factors that contribute to our city-states' overall competitiveness include a stable political regime, strong rule of law, favorable policy towards foreign investment and trade, good digital and logistic connectivity, a skilled workforce, as well as our technological infrastructure. But I want to reassure Mr. Liang and all members that the government will certainly continue to monitor the market closely and, where needed, calibrate the supply of commercial properties to ensure the stability as well as the sustainability of rentals for business over the medium to long term.
No supplementaries.